Hello and welcome to the Superhero Podcast, and today I have a very special guest with me. He is a co-host of the very popular comic book review show on YouTube, The Comic Book Cast, and he is also the DVD Grouch. Here today to discuss superheroes and all things comics is the great Joel Daly. So hello Joel, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you too for mentioning that I'm also the DVD Grouch on YouTube. Although, to be fair, I haven't done anything under that guise in like forever.
It's alright, honestly. I only just recently got back into watching like some stuff on YouTube, and honestly I found some of your earlier stuff is quite funny sometimes.
Well, thanks. I mean, there was definitely a point in my life when I wanted to do the whole character review thing when I saw the whole, Doug Walker, that guy with the glasses type thing that I'm like, ooh, I want to do that. But, hey, then the stars aligned and I realized, hey, I can actually be more successful just being myself than being a character.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to start off with, because I know I listened to your reviews on the Batman books, and I've got to ask, which one is your favorite to read out of that entire saga, like of the Batman saga?
Ooh, you see, that's tough because it's really, really clear that DC Comics is putting all their A game into the Batman books and putting their best writers on it. So it is really hard to pick. I mean, Snyder's, of course, the main Batman book is the easy one. I mean, it's the one I don't think I've ever scored it lower than an 8. I don't think it's just been that good for that long. Kyle Higgins really found his footing with Nightwing after Death in the Family, and it's really sad to see that book is going to be, or at least his run is ending with issue 29. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I gotta pick my favorite writer, and that always comes down to Gail Simone. That it's always weird and creepy. It's basically a horror book, is
Yeah.
what it is. She puts that poor girl through so much, and I love it.
Not that long ago, I actually met Gail Simone in York. Not that long ago, so
Awesome.
I got to speak to her for a few minutes, and she was so like really funny, and she was really cool, and she was really happy that I read her work, and like she's really fantastic. Like, she's a fantastic writer, and after I listened to your interview with Marguerite Bennett, and so I decided to pick up some of her issues they were really well written. And now, why is it that you think that there are just so few female comic book writers out there that just getting left behind in a way?
It's a weird. I mean, like, I'm not going to say the cliche thing and be like, oh, well, comics is still very much a boys' club.
Oh, it's very men all over the place.
I mean, heck, when the New 52 started, Gail Simone was like the only woman there, and they also fired her, and then they had to bring her back
Yeah.
after the whole fan explosion of which I was part of. Actually, true story, a bunch of feminist bloggers started following me on Twitter after I started raging after they fired Gail Simone over an email. And I just have this image in my head of them being like, wow, that guy's angrier than we are. He's really fuming. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a thing where I guess there's something in the back of certain comic book buyers' minds if they see a woman's name attached to it. I mean, of course, we all know J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter woman. Perhaps one of the most ingenious things she did was just, turn her name into J.K.
I'd say it hurts. It's a very hard world to get into. Like, obviously, Marguerite Bennett got into it because she said through your interview that she got through college and then she met Snyder herself and then she got working through there. And it's really odd to try and think. And you think about comic writers. Like, I read Captain Marvel from the new Marvel Now, and Kelly Sue DeConnick, she's been killing it on that series. It's been really, really good. And then I just realised, I think, well, why isn't there more stuff like this out there? Like, there's really good stuff, and it's not being given that much attention.
Well, you know what I think it is? I think it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction to be like, oh, you're a lady writer, so we should give you a lady superhero book. Which the sad truth about lady superhero books is even when they're written by men, they don't sell as much and they don't last as long. One of my favorite series from Marvel, it was probably my favorite Marvel team book for a bit, was Fearless Defenders from Colin Bunn.
Yeah.
A really funny book, really great action from a great writer, the guy who did Six Gun, for those of you who like your indie books. That one didn't last long. That one was on the bubble for the longest time, and it got canceled on the worst cliffhanger.
That was the real shame about that. I was actually keeping up with that series after the sixth issue. I was like, God, this was really fun. I was really enjoying it, and then poof, it was gone. And I was like, Oh, for God's sake.
Well, what blows me away about Fearless Defenders is that even when I was reading the book, even when I was being an advocate for the book, in the comment sections of my reviews, people were actively rooting for the book to fail. For whatever reason, I got multiple comments from people saying, I can't wait for this book to be canceled.
Oh, why? It's just
I don't know. I couldn't even respond to a person like that. I'm like, you want it to be canceled and replaced with what? Nothing?
Yeah, nothing sounds better than absolutely something.
Nothing is better than girls.
Girls, cooties.
Apparently, yes.
A personal tragedy for me was that I was a massive fan of the Batwoman series, and I know you've been. I know you tried to cover this before, but when J.H. Williams and Blackman left, I was really angry. And then I realized, and then I read the reason of why it happened, and I was so pissed. Basically, I ranted in a video about it, and I had to cut some of it out because I thought, if I ever get a job in the future, someone's going to find this, and I'm going to be like, oh crap.
Got a little mean. Yeah, that whole, Blackman and Williams thing, that was a really messed up set of circumstances. That just made the whole industry look bad in that little blow up that they had. Basically, for those of you who don't know, it came down to the two writers wanted Batwoman to marry her girlfriend, Maggie
And they set
Sawyer.
it up perfectly. They had her a beautiful scene where she at the end of this long story arc, which started from the very first issue, they finished it off, and she met her in the park, and she asked her to marry her, and that was it. And everyone was like, "Wow, that was amazing." And then we get a really weird blog post from Blackman saying, "Yes, we're leaving," and I'm like, "What?" Like, it was just a very surprising action. And then, of course, you read the reason why, and they try to kind of cover it over with words, and you think that's just a really crappy move.
What was extra terrible about that one is that, everyone was, of course, quick to shout, homophobia, but it's so much worse than homophobia. It's Dan DiDio being like, no, none of our heroes should be happy. Wait, what?
None of our heroes should have personal happy lives. They should always be depressing.
Yeah, no one should ever be happy, and there's a lot of that in the New 52. You know who the happiest person is in the New 52, and they still try and, screw with them every chance they get? Aquaman.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Aquaman is the happiest person in the New 52. He's married, he's got a steady job, the people of Maine have started to like him. But then again, he lives in Maine. That's the thing. His dad was a lighthouse keeper. He lives in Maine.
That's pretty cool.
It is. The new Aquaman book, it was really good under Johns, and it's really good under Parker now. A perfect example is in the last issue of Aquaman. Aquaman went to his high school reunion. Yeah, and he took his wife there, and everything was happy and cool. And I'm like, wow, I guess everyone cares so little about Aquaman that the writers are just free to do whatever they want so they can actually make him happy. And DiDio is just sitting up there. No one cares about Aquaman.
I know you're a big fan of what they did with what they tried to do with Baz before it went really wrong. But then that kind of brings me on to my next question: is now that in Marvel they've kind of got it right with the new Miss Marvel series, which
pushing a Muslim superhero and doing it good.
I mean, I read that issue; it was excellent,
Yes, it was.
really damn good, and it gives me hope. G. Willow Wilson, she did a really good job on that, and I remember going on to they did a live stream question and answer session.
Yes.
After the thing was released, and I got loads of people seeing on the comments saying, "Oh God," really unhelpful comments, and I really felt quite bad for her because she's going to see that and read that. But overall, I think that was a damn good first issue, and I hope it carries on with the next couple of issues.
Me too. I felt very much reading that issue. Where it's like, wow, this lady is tapping into a story and a people who usually don't get representation in fiction the way they do. If this keeps up, this could be, as important to, the Muslim youth reading it as it was important to, nerdy New York kids who picked up Spider-Man in the 60s. This could inspire a whole generation and be good too.
It blended really well how you got this teenage adolescent girl who's dealing with all these kind of issues, and she's got her religion, she's got her friends, and then obviously she lives in Marvel, New York, so obviously she's got a hell of a life getting a job there.
Yep.
And obviously she has this. I mean, the moment where she actually sees, obviously, people, if you haven't read the book, you need to, but if you see the moment where she meets Captain Marvel, Captain America, and Iron Man in like a vision, and it's such a really unique vision. I thought, wow, that's really, really interesting way of looking at it.
Superheroes is the modern day mythology. I think that's great.
And
even more so than that, she gets her back. She's an Inhuman, basically. It was the Terrigen Mist or whatever that gave her her powers, which speaks so much to what Marvel is doing right now by pushing the Inhumans really hard.
And then they had to push back the Inhuman comic that was coming out. Like, I mean, I think that's only just getting its first release. I think the next week or the week after, but
it's soonish. I think they're playing checkers with that one for whatever weird reason.
I mean, I know I had plans that they were trying to get Scarlet Witch to appear in that series.
That's the big rumor around the campfire, is that because the new Avengers movie is going to have Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, how are they going to explain their powers? Oh, well, they're not mutants anymore because obviously Marvel and Disney don't own the rights to mutants. Oh, no, they're Inhumans. See, it's all good because they're Inhumans.
I mean, at the moment, that's not going to happen just because of another series I've been keeping up with, which is Uncanny Avengers. And at the moment, she's actually dead in that. Like,
yeah,
Rogue killed her and then died. She died herself because what I found really upsetting about the fact that they kind of shafted Scarlet Witch in the issue, because I thought, oh yeah, they're trying to push her for like popularity with the new movies coming out. It's just the fact that they made all of the other characters hate her so much. It was actually really kind of hard to like her in a way, which is really a shame. You're trying to get new fans to get to behind her for the new movies that are coming out. Obviously, not really X-Men Days of Future Past, because we've kind of seen what she's going to look like in that.
Yeah.
But hopefully what they do is, obviously, they will inevitably bring her back, because you got to get her popularity back up. But
I mean, it's comics. They all come back to life eventually.
Exactly. I mean, how many times has Batman died? Probably like twice.
I've lost count. Yeah. How many times has Superman died again?
I think the problem is sometimes with the female heroes is the fact that they get sometimes shafted. They get shafted over the male heroes. And I mean, for you, who's been like a female hero that you've seen shafted over, like in both universes? Do you think?
Okay, here's a female hero that I don't think I'm breaking any new ground by saying this has been royally fucked over by the new 52. Well, actually, I can think of a couple, actually, now that I stop and think about it. You really got the floodgates going on this one.
Open up.
Starfire, of course, from Red Hood.
Oh, no, crap, I've forgotten about her.
Yeah, Starfire, who is this loving, semi-naive, but ultimately really good-natured alien from the Teen Titans that, everyone really loved and enjoyed. And in the new 52 and Red Hood and the Outlaws, they turn her basically into a skanky outer space goldfish who can't remember anything. And don't get me wrong, new writers have tried to come on and fix things. James Tynion tried to take her in a new direction that says, oh, no, she remembers her past, but it's too painful. She had a falling out with Dick Grayson, and now this is just like her defense mechanism thing. Obviously, he didn't stay on the book long enough to do anything with it, but he planted the seeds of that, if nothing else. Harley Quinn has gotten better.
Yeah.
Since the new 52 started, the new guy writing Suicide Squad is doing a decent job with her, and of course Jimmy Palmiotti.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's an excellent run that I've been keeping up with. It's really damn good.
Yeah, I have this, like wacky screwball comedy solo series they're doing. I still miss the classic costume, but she's doing better. Really the one that I think sticks in my craw more than any other one, and it's actually turned into one of my most favorite on-running gags, is of course Skinny Amanda Waller. By God, if there was one thing that I wish that if I had the power, like if someone came to me tomorrow and said, Joel, you are now in charge of DC Comics, what's your first order of business? I would make Amanda Waller fat again. Because I think that is such a slap in the face of her character. And people are always like, well, Joel, why should it matter? She's still the same strong woman she was before. Yeah, but there's plenty of strong women who are also pretty. What made Amanda Waller cool is that, she was tough, she had spunk, and, she could get into Batman's face, and she was a fat lady.
And she was awesome in Justice League. You can't take that away from us.
That too. She is CCH Pounder. You can't not have it that way.
I mean, in the new 52, honestly, like one of my favorite heroes when I was growing up, like some of them are still okay, but I think I think Black Canary has suffered kind of the worst from being shafted because
I have not read a single issue of the new Birds of Prey. Please go on.
at the start they try to reintroduce you to the character, and although she has like the same powers, that she has the same abilities, and she has a iffy costume, kind of the fact that they in the Birds of Prey issues they didn't really know what they were doing. Like they basically got given these certain heroes, like some I had never heard before. I mean, I'd heard of Katana, but I'd never actually read her before.
Yeah,
And
same
then-
here.
And then obviously they brought Poison Ivy in, which I thought would be an interesting move, but again, that really didn't come to anything. But it's been going on and on and on, and in all actuality, Black Canary's actually kind of faded into the background. I mean, she's meant to be
Really?
she's kind of meant to be the leader of the team, but there's sometimes when you read the issue, I mean, I've caught up with the last two, but she's kind of faded into the background. Like, there's got so many overacting personalities in there that it's just kind of gotten a bit boring.
The only time I picked up Birds of Prey was actually when it crossed over with Talon briefly, because Strix, the good female Talon, had joined their team for a little bit. Is she still on the team now?
She
Or
is still on the team, but I haven't read the last two, so she may have been killed for all I know.
and she's mute, so I mean, it's kind of hard to have a character in a comic, of a medium where you have to read, where she's also mute.
I mean, they tried to bring Batgirl into it, but again, she's got her own series. It doesn't really work with having two different writers writing her at the same time.
It's clear they wanted Oracle from the old Birds of Prey, but you can't have Oracle in a book where Barbara Gordon is also Batgirl.
Exactly. I mean, that kind of brings me to my... I mean, I know they're bringing back Stephanie Brown, but not as Batgirl in Batman Eternal that's coming up. I mean, they're bringing her back as Spoiler, and that's where I first met her, like, as Spoiler, and I'm really happy about that, but honestly, who's your favourite Batgirl? I mean, there's been quite a few, but who's been your favourite, can you say?
I mean, there's been a lot of good ones over the years. There's been a lot of really good ones, and there's good arguments you could have for everyone. Some people like Cassandra Cain. Some people like
She's
Stephanie.
my favourite. She's my
Oh,
favourite.
Cain is your favorite, so you're probably pretty ticked off that she hasn't been in the new 52 at all.
Slightly, yeah.
Cain is good, but I guess at the end of the day, I mean, you always remember your first, and my first was Barbara Gordon, so I guess I kind of have to say Barbara Gordon. I have to go with the cliche answer.
No, it's not a cliche. I mean, I first got introduced to Kane when someone basically said to start reading this issue because it was interesting and fun and it was violent. So I was like, oh hell yeah!
The language of violence, no
Yeah.
less. Another mute character.
I mean, her story was actually really damn interesting. Like, I mean, her mother was Lady Shiva, and basically, she didn't know how to read. Like, she couldn't speak, and Batman took her in, and then Oracle actually taught her how to speak when in return for being trained how to be Batgirl. And then after her main arc, after it had finished with Lady Shiva, then she got shafted. I mean, that was when that really took a down spiral hill.
They made her evil again, and then she could suddenly speak after becoming evil. Yeah,
No, that was the thing. No, she was actually speaking before then. She'd actually started speaking before then. And then Deathstroke got in charge of the Teen Titans, and then it kind of all went downhill from there. I mean, they had them fight they had them fight Tim Drake, and he got his ass handed to him, and then it was meant to be mind control, and then again it just got messy and messier and messier.
Yeah, that happens, unfortunately.
But there is hope. I mean, there is hope for next. I mean, obviously not this year. This year we're getting Batman Eternal.
Yeah.
Where we're getting Bluebird, which I
Yeah.
am actually really excited for.
Me too. I've been pushing Harper Row since she first showed up, and I really like what Snyder and company had to say about Harper Row, saying that they never intentionally meant to put her in a costume. Their plan was always make a good three-dimensional young female character and then take it from there. I really appreciate they didn't feel the need to put her in the Robin costume. I really appreciate that they're like, no, we'll let her be her own character with her own name. And hey, Batman and Bluebird kind of has a nice ring to it.